Our class today is going to be biology practicals. Before we move on to the practical proper, I would like to introduce my able colleagues. With me by my right hand side is Mrs. L. Ahmed. By my left hand side is Mrs. Mariam Ahmed Gidadu. And we are going to concentrate on practicals. Now, before we move on to the practicals, I would like us to introduce some of the laboratory apparatus to our students so that you will be familiar with these apparatus and their usage as well. Now, in every biology laboratories, there are certain materials or instruments or apparatus that are required for the conduct of practicals. These apparatus, they include the beaker. As you can see, this is what we call a beaker. It is made up of a glass. It has a cup-like structure. It has a flat bottom and an open top. And it has a sprout. Now this sprout is to aid pouring out of liquid into another containers. And that is what we call a beaker. And it is used in mixing chemicals. It is also used in heating chemicals. Next is what we call a Petri dish. It's a shallow and round glass that is used in culturing some microorganisms like bacteria, particularly in microbiology labs. It can also be used to keep some of our specimens that are very tiny, like houseflies and the likes of them. So this is what we call a Petri dish. We have this known as hand lens. It is made up of a convex lens, and it is mounted in a circular frame with a handle. It is used to magnify smaller structures or smaller microorganisms that we can still see them with our eyes, but in the case we need to magnify to increase their size, we use this hand lens to magnify structures. This is what we call slide. Where we want to use our microscope, this is made up of a glass. It is usually rectangular in shape. It is flat, as you can see it. It is mounted on a microscope, and that's where we placed our specimen for observation or examinations. We have this is known as funnel. As you can see, it has a broad top and it narrows at the bottom. It is used in transferring liquid into another container whose opening is usually small. This is to avoid spillage of that reagent or liquid you are trying to pour in or transfer into another container, and we call it funnel. This is what we call measuring cylinder. As the name implies, it is used in measuring the amount of liquids required for certain experiments, because there are experiments that you are required to measure certain mil of this to this. So in that, you need to use this measuring cylinder because it has calibrations. Then you take your measurement and you pour it appropriately into your test tubes. And in this regard, as you can see, if you want to pour in any liquid here for measurement, you have to use this funnel. That is where you get it accurately. Then you measure the amount of liquid required. Then you transfer it into another laboratory apparatus known as a test tube. Now, a test tube is usually made up of a glass. It is narrow and cylindrical. It opens at the top and it is round at the bottom. And it is used in mixing solutions. It is also used in heating solution when the need arises. This is what we call a test tube holder. Now, because a test tube, as I said earlier on, we can use it to heat solutions, and it is made up of a glass, and glasses are usually good conductors of heat, so you cannot hold it with your bare hands. So if you want to heat any liquid, you have to use this instrument known as test tube holder. Then you hold it about 3 centimeters from the top, then you insert it to the heat source and you complete your heat.